Hello, everyone. Welcome to RSA 2022. We're here live in the what they call Broadcast Alley, which is in Moscone West. A little quieter than Moscone North and South, which are the main Moscone stations. We're really happy to be live in person this year at RSA, and I couldn't think of a better person to kick off our live coverage with than my good friend Mark Miller. Mark is now VP of Community at Linux Foundation.
Yes, I am.
That's right. And wherever Mark's title is or job is, he's always a friend. He's always here with us, and we appreciate it. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Of course, today, kind of just like almost a soft opening for RSA today.
It feels like it. It feels like
Yeah.
we're walking around, everything's under control, or usually it's just mayhem.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be more mayhem tomorrow,
Yeah.
because originally, it was going to be a shortened agenda this year. They were going to start on Tuesday and just do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No Monday curriculum or no Monday scheduling. Then they changed that and they wound up adding some Mondays. So the show floor actually opens tonight, which
Right.
is kind of normal.
That's right.
I think there might have been one keynote today.
Yeah, in South there was something big
Yes,
going on.
there
in
was
South.
definitely a keynote.
Yeah.
On top of that, though, our DevSecOps,
Yes.
DevOps Connect DevSecOps event is usually on Monday.
I know, it's an exciting thing for you and I. For 7 years
Yeah,
we've been doing this as a preview to the show almost.
right. It's always on day
Yeah.
zero, if you
So
will.
now we're part of the conference, and that's
Right,
that
we
really
are
is
a
fun.
major part of the conference on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
We made it to the big time, Mark. This year's show, by the way, is DevOps Connect, DevSecOps Day. It is on Tuesday. It's all day. If you're watching this and you're at RSA tomorrow, stop in. We're in Moscone South, room 301. I think things kick off when, at 9 o'clock or 8:30?
We're going to open the doors at 8:30.
We open the doors at 8:30.
And then you and I will go on at 9 o'clock to say hi, and then Jim Zemlin kicks it off.
Yep, Jim Zemlin, Executive Director of the Linux Foundation.
Right.
Will keynote this year. But, so Jim's a great, and if you've ever seen him speak, you know this, but Jim's a great person to kick it off. But let me just give some kudos to this man right here. As Mark said, we're doing this 7 years. And in 7 years, we have not had a stronger lineup, a stronger group of speakers than we have this year. Mark, you went over and above on so many different levels. Every single person here is an all-star. From a diversity point of view, I think it's our most diverse lineup.
That's right. That's right.
It is, as I said, just on so many levels. What a great job, man. Thank you.
The thing that I think we're doing too, Alan, is some of the people, half the people on here, you will not know before you go into the room. But that doesn't mean they're doing big stuff.
Yep.
And you get somebody like Jasmine Henry, who just put out her new book, Reinventing Cybersecurity, with 15 women and trans authors.
Yep.
It's amazing.
And we will be having on that
Yes.
tomorrow there too.
She's
So
bringing
get your
cases of
copy.
books.
Yep, get your copy there. I'll tell you, some of the other people, I'm excited. Excuse me. You mentioned Jim. We also have Priyanka from the Executive Director of Cloud
Sharma.
Native
Yeah.
Computing Foundation. She's great to have on here. And it's probably one of the most dynamic communities in the space today.
When you think about it, I've talked to Priyanka quite a long time about community around CNF and why it works so well. And it's interesting because of the way it's structured.
Yeah.
And people want to use that as a model to start their communities, but there has to be some kind of foundation to start with. And that's what Priyanka and I had talked about on the podcast I'm doing with her.
Oh, you mentioned a podcast you do.
Snuck
Tell
that
us
one in
more.
there.
Tell
There you
us
go.
more.
So on June 20th, you and I are going to be in Austin
Yes, we will.
for the Open Source Summit and also Open SSF Day. And as part of that, we're going to launch the Linux Foundation Untold Stories of Open Source podcast series.
Great. I love it. So we're going to be live. That's in Austin. I think it's
Right.
June 20th that week, or
That's
June
right.
19th. Let's get back to tomorrow,
Sure.
though. A couple of other speakers I want to mention. You know, one of the nice things, Mark, about having done this 7 years is we've built a tribe, a community of DevOps and cybersecurity professionals. And we've had some people who have literally been here since day one and beyond, before,
Right.
who've helped us build this and continue to just amaze me. 3 people I want to highlight that are speaking tomorrow. Number 1 is our friend John Willis.
You can't not mention John.
I mean, he was there for us from day one.
Day one.
And he's still, he's an amazing speaker. He always has a great presentation. And then 2 ladies, our friends Chensi Wang and Carolyn Wang.
I'm glad you brought up Carolyn, because one of the ways that you and I first met Carolyn was she was on a panel that you were hosting once. And John
Yep.
and I were standing there watching going, holy crap, we need to know this woman.
Yes. Well, no, I'm going to tell you something. You don't remember this then. Either the first or second DevSecOps we did, Carolyn was on the docket as a standalone speaker. And we were very nervous because she wasn't there 5 minutes before she was supposed to talk. And from the back of the room, there's a huge room with 1,000 people. From the back of the room, waddling in, comes this pregnant woman who I was afraid she was going to have the baby right there on the spot. I mean, she was literally about to give birth in a couple of days. But nevertheless, she came to our thing. She got up there and knocked them dead with her presentation. Look, I'm a huge Carolyn Wang fan, and I have been for a while. I
Yeah.
tell her this all the time.
You know, you bring
bright.
up Chinchi too. She has been doing such remarkable stuff with her venture capital firm. I mean,
Well,
she's
got it
picking
great.
winners.
She's picked one win. But what I love about Chenshi is she's kind of a Renaissance woman in that, yes, she does venture capital. Yes, she speaks at the Carnegie Mellon graduation ceremony.
Right.
Yes, she's on public boards. Yes, she's a huge player in women in cyber and women in technology, especially out here in the Silicon Valley area. She is involved, in addition to being a mom, a wife.
I wasn't going to leave that off.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, she's a role model in so many different ways, a PhD. Again, I'm a fan, and I have been she knows this too. Another repeat person who was here 5 years ago is our friend Jennifer from Target.
She is amazing. When she and Jody first spoke that first year, we didn't
Remember
know
that?
what was
Yes.
coming. And they got up there and everybody's jaw dropped. And so we've had Jennifer come each subsequent year to update us on what's happening with Target.
Big stuff. Fantastic.
got
Glad to
Larry?
have her. Another repeat, our friend Larry Macharon. Now, Larry was at Verizon or Comcast.
He was at Comcast.
He's now with Contrast Security,
Yeah.
but still a real thought leader in DevSecOps.
Right.
And then we have some new people, because you always need new people. Tracy Bannon.
I just had lunch with Tracy.
Tracy's a fantastic person. She does Techstrong Women with Charlene.
Oh, good.
A couple of others. Dr.
Amit, she is interesting. We've had her before, and she's very
didn't
dynamic.
remember her.
Yeah. Well, the last one that we did live here.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is just a dynamic presence on stage. And so she called me and said, hey, Mark, I've got some new stuff I'm working on, and can we come and talk about what we're working on at Intel? So, well, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. Anybody else you want to highlight? I mean, there's more. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more as we're looking at this. I think the main thing that's going to happen tomorrow is that, one, it's a remarkable day. We've got 2 panels.
Yep.
Nice. But in addition to what we're doing tomorrow, it's actually being recorded, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's going to be...
There's the date. If you go to Techstrong events and look it up, the date of the virtual replay. And on the virtual replay, we'll have some additional
speakers, right.
unreleased footage,
Right.
you know, from the master recordings.
So if you didn't have a chance to come and see us in San Francisco, you'll have a chance to
See us
all
in
this.
person.
Yeah.
And in Austin at the Linux Foundation Open Source.
I hope to see a lot of people in Austin.
Well, look, with the OSS, Open Source Security Foundation,
Yeah.
OSSF, we're seeing that open source, much as we did with the DevOps community and the
exactly
security
right.
tribe,
Right.
we're seeing the open source community now mixed with the security
Right.
tribe. And let's just hope we have great things coming from
You
it.
know, speaking of tribes and community, I learned a lot from Michael Wu. He was the chief scientist at Lithium for many years. And Michael said, you know, the way that communities build, the way that you and I are building communities, it's not like there's a core group. It's like there are multiple niches that have crosstalk between them, and the crosstalk gets stronger and stronger until it all meshes into one thing.
Absolutely. So guys, don't miss this tomorrow. But you know, one of the things, Mark, about being live here at RSA is we can do crazy things. I'm going to do a crazy thing right now. Watch this.
All right.
Hey, Michael Farnham, come here. It's not right now. Come on. Pull him up and mic him up. Yeah, get in here, dude. Sit down.
I was not expecting this.
No,
Michael,
we
good
didn't.
to
We're live. Michael Farnham, Mark Miller.
Okay, I wasn't expecting this. I was just going to say hello.
I know you were. But jump in the taxi, my friend.
There we go.
So you may not, so look, one of the nice things about doing live is we could do stuff like this. So this gentleman right here, I'm going to let Michael identify himself, but Mark, you should know. When we started the Security Bloggers Network, Mitchell Ashley, who was just here briefly, 2003.
Wow.
The very first people who started blogging and writing about security. This gentleman right here, right, Michael. He was one, it was him, Martin McKay, a few other people.
But
Rich
wait, there's
Mogul.
more.
There's more.
Michael was one of the very first security bloggers. I met him here at RSA, so we know each other now almost 20 years.
It's been a while, Alan.
Wow.
It really
And
is, yeah.
I know you're CTO somewhere or something.
I-
CISO.
CTO. I don't want to be a CISO. Thank you very
I
much.
don't blame you.
CTO with a reseller integrator cybersecurity down in Houston called Set Solutions.
Set Solutions.
Yeah, I've been there about almost 5 years now. So talking to all the security vendors, making sure they fit in our little world and doing a lot for customers.
You around the Rice campus?
Close to the Rice campus. We're downtown, so not too far from
Yeah,
the Rice campus. Yeah, real close.
And in his spare time, Michael is also one of the founders and organizers of HughesecCon.
Yep.
And I wanted to give that a shout out.
Good,
That's a
good,
great
good.
one for you too.
Oh,
Michael,
okay.
tell the audience, so Mark's VP of Community with Linux Foundation.
Oh, I knew I recognized your face. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Hey, you recognize the
That's
hat.
right. The hat too. Yeah. I've seen
So
Ed's
we're
photo
live
talking
right now. People all over
Yeah.
the world are watching. Tell me
Okay.
about HughesecCon.
So HughesecCon been around since 2010. We're a cybersecurity conference in Houston, stands for Houston Security Conference. So we've been doing that since about 2010, along with another friend of ours, Sam Van Ryder.
Sam Van Ryder.
And we're probably going to hit about 1,000 people this year. We're really excited about it.
When is it?
It is October 20th and 21st, 2022.
Great
this year.
time to be in Houston.
It's
Be
a
nice
great
weather.
time to be
Yep.
in Houston. Should
Well,
be.
he has a vested interest in being in Houston. His son and his money go there.
You are more than welcome. Sir. Please come down. It's
Actually, we're going to be there too. As it turns out, we're doing an Innotech in Houston a couple weeks before or after HughesecCon. I'll talk to you about
yeah,
it.
awesome. Let's get
But HughesecCon is, look, if you're in that Houston, even if you're not in Houston, if you're in the general vicinity there, it's probably the best security show in that section of the country.
I like to think it is.
Great.
Thank you.
The boys, Sam and Michael have done a great job. So, Michael, what are you excited about at RSA to this year?
Honestly, there's some pretty cool innovation stuff in the
sandbox, yeah.
sandbox I've been watching. Really excited about the new enterprise browser stuff around Talon and Island. That kind of stuff is very, very, very interesting. What it can do with the VDI world and malware world, ransomware world. That's kind of got me really my interest peaked this year. I'm going to pay more attention to that.
And of course, you wouldn't miss our DevSecOps Day,
Oh, that,
DevOps Connect tomorrow,
more
all
excited.
day, absolutely. And we'd love to have you there. Hey, we're gonna pull the plug on this one, Michael.
Thanks for
It's a
having me.
pleasure seeing you, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
Mark,
Thank you.
as always, you did a heck of a job here.
Thanks.
We're going to take a quick break. We've got our next guest being mic'd up as we speak, and we are live at RSA Conference 2022. All right, we're back here at RSA Conference in, not Silicon Alley, that's how old I am, Broadcast Alley here in Moscone West, continuing our day one coverage here. I'm happy to be here. Our next guest, actually I'm gonna let him introduce himself so I don't mess up his name. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alan. I'm Israel Barak, Chief Information Security Officer at Cybersecurity.
At Cybersecurity.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's funny, Israel, the last guy we had on, he was my friend Michael Farnham. And I said, I forgot if you're CTO or CISO. He said, I'm CTO, I would never want to be CISO.
Someone wants to.
Yeah, no, it's a thankless job. Though, to be fair, it's come a long way. I mean, I remember when, you know, we first started seeing CISOs and they were glorified security administrators and architects. And so it has reached, it truly is a C-level, in many cases, you know, direct report to the board and CEO type position.
The downside of that is also it had come with hand-to-hand with a decrease in the expected lifespan of a CISO
Yes,
in
there
a
is.
particular position.
Well, part of that, yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny, on the way down here, Israel, I was driving to the airport, I was being driven, and my driver said that a couple days before, he was driving to the airport with Joe Girardi's wife. Joe was the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. And while he was in the car with her, Joe Girardi called his wife to say he was fired from the Phillies, but not to worry, they had to pay the rest of his year for the contract and a third of next year's,
Oh,
or
that's
something like
convenient.
that. Yeah, don't take up any collections for him. But the thing about it, his wife said to the driver, you know what? Everyone who ever gets hired as a manager or a coach or a CISO for that matter knows that the day you got hired, the clock started running on the day you're going to leave. Because there's no lifetime appointments in CISOville.
I think last I checked, we ran a quick survey, among peers. I think the average
months.
was about 18 months.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, 18 months.
So I've been with Cybereason for the past 6.5 years.
So you're an anomaly, man.
A bit of an anomaly.
Knock wood, let's not say anything. Look, I'm familiar with Cybereason. We should mention also, I'm the founder of the Security Bloggers Network, which is a big part of Security Boulevard, and the Cybereason folks were very graciously, they always sponsor. But they sponsored this year by donating space, because it was hard in San Francisco this year to get space to do parties and events. And so thank you very much to Cybereason for doing that.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you.
But for those maybe who are tuning in, maybe they don't know Cybereason. Why don't you give them a little background?
Of course. Well, Cybereason is the XDR company, right? We partner with security defenders to essentially end cyber attacks on endpoints in the cloud and in general across the enterprise ecosystem. Now, the way we do it is by providing a platform that is able to basically ingest data on everything that is happening in the enterprise ecosystem at planetary scale, detect malicious operations that are happening in the enterprise environment, put them in context in something called operational centric approach, so defenders can understand exactly what they are, where they came from, what they're doing, and most importantly, what needs to be done to stop them. And then put in place something that we call, or a capability that we call predictive response. And that capability enables the defender to remove an adversary from the network almost completely autonomously. And that's really undefeated up until today in the fight against ransomware and advanced attacks.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Israel. Thank you.
you.
Let's give people a flavor, though, because I'm going to tell you, so I've been in security a long time myself, 25 years, and having products that do this or that is all great. Where rubber meets the road is where you can show, hey, we helped stop this attack, or we helped this customer recover better, or real world incidents, because the bad stuff, why CISOs lose their job. You never hear about them when they're doing their job. When things are going well, we don't hear about security. It's only when the stuff hits the fan, we find, all of a sudden everybody's, what about security? What about that CISO? He's doing a rotten job, we got hacked. But if you don't mind sharing some war stories.
Well, of course, maybe I can share one of the incidents that we exposed just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I think it's probably, when you think about nation state or state-sponsored threat actors, data breaches, industrial espionage, that I think is probably the most interesting incidents that happened this year, or that was exposed this year. What we exposed just a couple of weeks ago was an industrial espionage operation. We believe that it was conducted by a Chinese state-sponsored actor called APT-41.
Sure,
or
I've heard of them.
I think they're sort of the princes of
these
industrial
types
espionage.
of these attacks, yep.
And we believe it targeted, over the years, at least 3 years, it targeted manufacturers in the United States, in Western Europe, that focus on defense and aerospace, pharmaceuticals, energy manufacturing, and specifically what they were able to put their hands on are blueprints, these product designs, manufacturing processes, and basically steal all that intellectual property, right, for the purpose of economic warfare.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a super interesting incident. We got called into, the way we identify that is we got called into helping with an incident response process, right? With one of these organizations. They felt something was off with their network. And as we rolled out the Cybereason platform and started engaging with that prospect in the incident response process, we started uncovering what that adversary was doing and has been doing in that network for years and years, and the data that they were taking from that network. Based on that information, we were then able to identify their footprints, right, and fingerprints in other organizations as well to understand the broader scope of organizations that they've been targeting over the years and the type of information that they've been focused on. We then ended up briefing the FBI on that matter, and I think it's a super interesting example for how the Chinese industrial espionage efforts haven't really decreased, or they haven't gone anywhere over the years. They're still very much in there.
Absolutely.
Just a lot
You know
more
what?
elusive.
There's always a lot of noise and what's going on in Eastern Europe right now and everything. But look, back in the day, the company Still Secure I helped co-found, about 60% of our business was Fed, space, DoD. And back then, it was the same perpetrator, maybe not this particular unit, but it was the same folks that were the main culprit for a lot of what we tracked down. And when we say industrial warfare, it really is warfare because it's theft of there's a couple of things they do. Number one, bring down systems to cause harm. Number two, it's a theft of IP. And some of it is stealth fighter plane IP, right? Federal government, defense, supercomputer plans, medical information. I mean, just, crown jewels that people spend millions of dollars and our country spends millions of dollars. And they wind up there and quickly done. And then you said, I like the way you phrased it, a unit connected to China. And make no mistake, the connection runs deep, right? This isn't, one of the things I think the difference, and again, you know more than me, but when we look at cyber espionage and criminal activities that come, let's say, from Russia versus our friends in China, and I use that word, as take it for what it is. In Russia, I get the impression it's almost like a wink, and they turn their head and you do what you want, make some money. Hence the ransomware and all the stuff we see there. In China, or at least these kinds of programs, it's a concerted effort, not just to make money with ransomware or something like that, but to steal IP for strategic reasons.
I agree with you. I think one of the things that we're seeing is that both ecosystems of offensive cybers in Russia and in China are well-developed ecosystems.
Yep.
But there are fundamental differences in the sense that in Russia, there's loose connection between the different entities.
Yep.
Whereas in China, just like you're saying, there's a concerted effort, very, very directed, where central government is very aware of everything that each actor and each group within their domain are doing, and they're strategically outsourcing activities to various groups to carry them out for plausible deniability and for other reasons. And so I think a lot of the activity, especially of this type of intellectual property theft, that is strategic intellectual property, even when conducted by a group that you might refer to as maybe a cybercrime group or a financially motivated group, it is never done when it's conducted from China. It is never done without the knowledge of the central government, and almost always with the orientation of it.
And I think that's an important thing. And also, though, let me, especially for our friends who are watching this around the world, the U.S., as we sit here in our country, are not without our own offensive and cyber issues. No one says this country's an angel. And China and Russia are not the only places in the world that cyber criminality exists or originates from. So I don't want to give people like a false sense that this isn't some TV news cycle where we're just pounding on someone. It's all over, it's widespread. What we see though coming, like in this particular attack though, is unfortunately happens way too often. It's a similar script repeated over and over and over again. Anyway, thanks for telling us that. we've got a few minutes left. What other stuff is happening over with Cybereason?
Well, I think a lot of exciting stuff is happening. One of the things that just recently happened is the release of the MITRE attack for enterprise evaluation results.
Sure.
In our space, the incident detection and response, traditionally it's been very difficult for the community to measure the efficacy and effectiveness of solutions in detecting advanced incidents. The reason is that most organizations don't have the skill set to emulate very advanced incidents, and these technologies or solutions, this is what they're trying to solve. And so I think MITRE, and specifically with the MITRE attack framework, were really the first ones, and they're still the gold standard in this space, in understanding what is the methodology or the framework to emulate an adversarial behavior, and then to build evaluations for detection and response technologies to really stress test them against real-world emulated adversaries and understand how effective and efficient they are. And recently they released the fourth round. It's the fourth year in a row, the fourth round of the MITRE attack evaluations. Cybereason, I think, achieved the best score in the history of the MITRE evaluations. I think.
Congratulations!
It was. Thank you so much. I think it was an exciting moment for us, demonstrating 100% visibility into every single one of the adversarial techniques that they assessed. So that was a super exciting moment
It's
for
a
us
feather
this
in
year.
your cap and good for you. You know, one of the things I've seen personally is, again, MITRE as an organization, they just don't get enough credit in terms of what they're doing and what we see. You know, we're live here in RSA. Let me bring someone in from MITRE. Tracy Bannon, come on in. We're talking about MITRE.
Okay.
Move over, Israel.
MITRE?
Well, we're going to mic you up and we're going live.
Good Lord.
Oh, good Lord is right. Surprise.
There you go. Mic me up, then the mask comes off, I suppose.
While we're doing this, let me just introduce. So, hey, this is what happens on live TV. Israel, say hello to Tracy Bannon.
Tracy, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Tracy, I couldn't have planned it better. Israel was just telling us, MITRE's evaluations. Israel's the CISO with Cybereason.
Okay.
And he was saying that Cybereason, their MITRE eval, had them as one of the highest MITRE evals they've done. And I was saying, MITRE's an organization that we don't talk about enough for all that they do for our cybersecurity community. And then, no sooner do I say that, who walks in but Tracy. Tracy, introduce yourself.
Hi there. Which way am I looking?
You can look at anywhere you want.
Well, hi there. Tracy Bannon. So I play with security, but I focus on architecture and engineering. And yes, I am with the MITRE Corporation. So security is a part of every day, every breath. So
Absolutely.
glad you called me over.
Well, so let's talk about the mission at MITRE. Right, as specifically, Israel, why don't you repeat for Tracy what the recent experience with you?
Yeah, absolutely. What we were talking about is the effort that's being led by MITRE Ingenuity around the attack evaluations and the attack framework in general. And we talked about how the general community, when they're trying to assess adversarial behavior and understand the efficacy of their architecture and processes against adversarial behavior, traditionally it's been very hard for them to understand how to do it because of the lack of adequate framework to do it, the lack of adequate data to do it. And so we talked about how important is the investment in building that framework, building that knowledge base, making it accessible for the community, as well as facilitating these evaluations that help sort of streamline the process of understand the different capabilities that exist in the market and how they map to attack.
Right. The important thing to keep in the back of your mind on all that is MITRE's mission. So they're not-for-profit. Doesn't mean they're not profitable, it means they're not-for-profit. So chartered by Congress. Right. So the very thing that we're supposed to do is act on behalf of the public interest, act on behalf of the government's interest. And cyber is one of the core charters that MITRE has above all else. So
Absolutely. You want to quickly maybe mention some activities MITRE has going on at RSA this year? Is there anything sort of official?
Well, we have a booth. And let's see, we've got, I think, 7 or 8 speakers across different venues the entire time. I think my favorite will be Bob Martin. He's kind of he's the god of SBOM to me. And now I know that others have been involved with SBOM for a while, but I go to Bob Martin for that. So, yeah, there's a number of different individuals across a number of different security spaces. Most of them are not as DevOps related, DevSecOps related. Most of them are towards what I would consider to be the core security competencies. So,
Well, we are Security Boulevard.
I know.
And so it's not DevSecOps all the time. And it's all good. Anyway, hey, thank you for letting us call you in like that, Tracy. You weren't expecting it. We just kind of pulled you right in here. Israel, I want to thank you for appearing
Thank
on
you
our
so much,
show.
Alan.
Thank you for helping us with the Security Bloggers Network party this year. We're live here at RSA. You never know who's going to walk in or who's going to get pulled in. It could be you next. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.